Let me start with Anand. Anand, as a diversified CFO, as a group CFO handling diversified businesses, do you see a difference in how the risks are being assessed in COVID-19 pandemic times than what pre-COVID-19 times? So is there any difference you see in managing the risks? What is your take on that?
Thank you, Jishan, and good to see you, Nili, Andrew, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, my friends. So let me give you a little perspective what I'm going to share today. Well, I have been a CFO, group CFO for over a decade, basically in the Middle East, handling the local and the international businesses for diversified businesses for family-driven groups. So contracting, manufacturing, construction, health sector, refinery, stock market, investment, and give me a business, Jishan, I will handle. And that's how I define myself. Well, I also have been a prolific professional speaker. I love sharing the way I'm doing now. I'm also a strategic writer. I keep writing the matters of professional interest. I was a runners-up at the CFO of the Year Award in 2015. But one thing I want to share with all of you and the delegates, something which is a motivating factor for me, drives me all the time. What is that? I believe I compete with myself every minute, and that's how I learn. And I think that's something which I've found a lot of value as in a professional life. In today's discussion, I'm going to bring my whole experience, expertise, and how I view this mayhem, and what can be the practical, executable solutions. And I hope those should be applicable geographically for any business you're into. So let's start the ride for the next 45 minutes. So here we go. Well, the risk perception today, when I look at, I believe in handling diversified businesses. That's my core expertise. So the risk perception for the diversified businesses is entirely different now than, say, the pre-COVID times. As a business CFO, my core responsibilities haven't changed. Still responsible for managing the growth, still responsible for managing the risks, but big time change, Jishan, has happened in terms of the perspective. What is that big time change? The big time change is, if you're handling diversified businesses, in the earlier times, the risk assessment was probably from the business perspective for an year. You are more looking at the risk from strategic angle, mergers, acquisition. Can I sell this? Can I have a new product line? Now, that was a risk perspective. Trust me, I haven't heard in my 20 years plus career anyone saying, look, I'm finding a business risky to manage for the next month. And that's a big change, which has happened now. Today, you're talking of managing today, 3 months, 6 months. So very, very, we are literally challenging the going concern of a business. Now, it's not as simple as managing and measuring the going concern. If you have different businesses, you must know which business you are into. So what works for one business, the same going concern won't work for another business. And that's another difference I have found in this COVID times. So essentially, two major differences. Now the risk assessment is more going concern on today, 3 months, 6 months. Survival is an issue. And what works for one business doesn't work for another. And that's where the key punchline, which business you are into. That's what I believe, Jishan, so important.
Yep, thank you. I mean, since you have spoken about elaborately on the various, and I take this point that there hasn't been a situation except for this one where we're in right now, where you don't know where are you going in 1 month from now. So what exactly are you suggesting here to take this, to take the business out of the mayhem which has been created because of these uncertain times? So what are the steps you would recommend as a group CFO?
Well, The last sentence which I said is very important for me. The business you're into. Now, people are making mistakes in current times by equating one business for another. Now, what works for a trading business with standard products won't work if you are a property developer for a construction business. If you are a subcontractor for a contracting business, it won't work if you are handling a refinery business. And mind you, if you are into a refinery business, you better be clear about the oil prices and what is the subtle difference between trading and processing in a refinery business. Now, let me give you some few examples just to drive you how important is the understanding of the business from the financial and the commercial nuances as finance leaders for us in these pandemic times. Let's say, Jishan, if your business is trading in retail, and typically a retail, a trading, and FMCG business, you would expect showrooms, you would expect distribution centers. You probably will have JVs. Now, what do you do now? You have a cost and a challenge. Now, if you know your business, is it B2B? Is it business to business? Is it business to customers? For example, typically in an interior fit out furniture business, my friend, you need showrooms that time, right? If you have a food business, or if you are into medicines, where it is B2C, business to customer, end customer, you need distribution centers. Probably you may need a JV also. Now, as a CFO, if I cannot appreciate these differences, I may end up, Andrew, Nelly, I may end up doing Excel working, give something to the board, but trust me, it's going to be a number game. I'm not contributing. Let's look at another example. Manufacturing business. We finance leaders always feel shy. Nothing can be done at the cost of goods sold level. We have manufacturing businesses, and I know for certain that if we go to the shop floor, understand the cost optimization, the raw material substitution, and then go back to your P&L account, you can add significant value to bring down the cost in the cost of goods sold level, significant change. And risk assessment and the collections, they go hand in hand. And that is again going a big time change, Ishan, big time change in the current crazy times, so to say. And how's that? Well, if your business is trading of standard products, you may have various clients, 1,000, 2,000, 8,000 clients. If you are a construction property developer, you have very limited clients. So if you work out the right strategy in a trading business, there are good chances of collecting your money. And mind you, I worked out about 18 action strategies coming out from experience of diversified businesses. And I'm happy to share with you, Jishan, I'm happy to share with the delegates if they want to understand how to collect money in a trading business and how to collect money in a construction business. Some of the options are overlapping, some of the options are not overlapping. So the bottom line is very crucial for you to know which business you are into. And if you're having diversified businesses, now is the time for you to get to detail and plan your risks, plan your collections. A few of the examples which I'm given, and that's where it is. That's where it is.
Thank you, Anand. I think it stands out, the collections definitely, and it stands out from the entire processes. That's a lot of focus is being given as a CFO, as a finance. Yeah, all other points aside. So just starting with you, Anand, with respect to the board management, and I mean all the initiatives that you take as part of the COVID-19 managing the mayhem, what kind of buy-in or you can say approvals that you need from the board management, and how are they? What are the different steps you recommend to convince the board to take the right steps to steer the organization out of these turbulent times? So what is your take on that?
Thank you, Jishan, for asking this, because we can keep debating for another 10 hours as a panel discussion. But then the bottom line is get the job done, get the solutions in place. And that's where, as a business CFO, you need to get the buy-in from the ownership, your board. Now it's a tricky time. It's a challenging job. Now there are 3 steps which I suggest. First, in your pandemic times, be logical, do your homework well, analyze well, and with your diversified understanding of the business, go back to the board with your solutions. However, keep in mind, if you have to change it. There's no ego space here. You're fighting against a survivor. So if you have to change it. Be a good listener. But the most important part, the change which I'm doing now in the current pandemic times is make the ownership aware of the worst case scenario. Jishan, paranoid succeed. This is the time. Paranoids do succeed. So you got to tell your ownership what is the worst case, and then give them solutions. No point of giving the worst case, even if the solutions are midway solutions, half-baked solutions, imperfect solution, so be it, but give them solution. And the very important part is you cannot manage your board and your ownership well if you don't know how to manage your external stakeholders. Jishan, you are an external stakeholder for me too. Whether you are a banker, whether you are a lawyer, whether you are a consultant, I need to engage myself with each and one of the external stakeholder. And once you go back to your ownership, when you go back to your board and show them the efforts which you have made with external stakeholders like banks, we all are trying to defer the bank liabilities. Now, unless you understand a perspective of a banker, from where is he coming? Are you willing to take a back seat and negotiate a deal with him? If yes, and go to your ownership, show the efforts you have made, trust me, you have won the battle. And that's the key point. This is a significant difference as a solution which I'm giving to the team, I'm giving to everyone, and this is a change. You need to know in whichever part of the world you are in, whichever business you are handling, how do you get your solutions executed with the board and the ownership? And that's the key point.
Perfect. Thank you.